Les connexions sont présentes partout dans le monde. Elles sont parfois imperceptibles et souvent nous les considérons comme acquises. Mais elles existent et nous en avons besoin. Être connecté permet non seulement de faire fonctionner le monde, mais le rend aussi meilleur, plus rapide, plus souple, plus productif, plus sécurisé et plus créatif. Alors pourquoi continuer à utiliser des technologies non connectées et obsolètes dans nos entreprises? Comment abolir les frontières entre les hommes et l'information? Il faut utiliser le pouvoir des connexions pour planifier ensemble, prendre des décisions basées sur des informations, connecter les données, connecter les hommes et connecter les plans.
Principalement la gain de temps, la simplicité.
C'est l'occasion de donner aux équipes
Anaplan nous permet un pilotage efficace avec des données financières centralisées et partagées par tous.
Ça nous permet aussi de maintenir beaucoup plus efficacement tous nos outils de reporting financier, de dater à tous, de travailler ensemble, avoir une seule version.
Un gain de temps au niveau des réponses, un meilleur partage de l'information.
Anaplan a été la solution qui a pu nous accompagner dans notre phase d'hypercroissance.
Nous développons une nouvelle ère de la planification connectée. Anaplan.
Et après ces images, pas de transition, je vous l'annonce. It's an honor to receive him for the first time here in France, Franck Calderoni, the new CEO of Anaplan.
So I learned French several years ago, but not enough to speak to you this morning in French, so I'll have to use my English, so I apologize for that. Wasn't that a great video? Especially in French? That video was pulled together from many of your stories, your experiences working with Anaplan over the years, so it's great. For me, I love that, to kind of hear about what your experience has been prior to working with Anaplan, since, and how we have been able to build a community of many of us between Anaplan and our customers. I'm really excited to be here, especially in Paris. I spent many years in Paris years ago when I worked with IBM and also with Cisco. I'm very honored to be leading this amazing company at Anaplan. You know, for me, it's natural to be here. I've always imagined over the years what it would be like to get a lot of the disconnected data and people and plans and functions together, right? And have it be much more connected in one environment. You know, I've worked with large companies like Cisco and IBM. I've worked in small companies like SanDisk. And no matter if they're large or small companies, the challenges associated with data and making decisions is the same. And what I experienced in many of those different types of roles is the challenges of really dealing with some of the legacy technology companies that many of us have been used to for so many years. Let me tell you a story about one of my experiences. So many years ago, when I was at Cisco, we started out on a transformation. And that transformation was really to do two things. The first was really to get data, pull data, have a common source of data together for the company. And this is a fairly large company, right? $50 billion in revenue, 70, 80,000 employees on a global basis. So that was mission number one. And second was to have this data available in the hands of many of the Cisco employees around the world so that our business partners, being in the finance organization and kind of working with them, could make intelligent decisions on a more real-time basis. So what started out as a small project with a few people with a very small budget went for several years with many people across the company as it continued to expand. And the budget, which was a small budget, ended up being a very large budget. Now, we did make some progress. We did get to a common source of truth as far as some of the data. And we did get to provide more information in the hands of many of our business partners. But it was really the start of a very long and complex journey. And so as I experienced that, many other experiences I've had in other companies, I really valued the opportunity to kind of come to Anaplan and see how it all can come together in what we call connected planning. And connected planning is just that, bringing together information to really make better decisions and really get at the, not just data, but the best data. And that best data, which is not only just historical information, but information that allows us to manage and predict and analyze different scenarios to better predict what will happen in the future and be prepared for that. You know, we just finished this last fiscal year, and we had 660 companies, enterprise companies that we've worked with. And this last year alone, we added 250 new customers. So that's on average 1 new customer a day. Now, of course, with that many customers and with many of you here today, we could come up with many examples. And even this morning, as I was talking to some of you, I learned even new examples or experiences that each of you have had. But I wanted to highlight one here today, really to make a point about connected planning. And that is a company, McAfee, which is a global security technology company that started working with Anaplan many years ago. And so I think this is a good example to kind of show the journey that they've had. Now, they started with one use case, and that was in compensation planning. And then quickly, they expanded to 25 use cases. And that was not only in HR, but in finance, in sales, in operations, in supply chain. And over several years, kind of really expanding to a very connected planning environment. And it's worked out extremely well for McAfee. And some of you that have been working with us for a number of years probably saw some of the representatives from McAfee talking about their experiences and their dealings with Anaplan and how it's changed how they do business, how they make decisions, how they plan. And one example of that is really to show one of the key metrics. And they've had many metrics, but one metric is kind of from planning to execution. That time frame was 12 weeks prior to kind of using an Anaplan platform. It's now down to 4 weeks. So a dramatic reduction in time that's allowed them to be much more efficient across their enterprise. And one of the things that I've heard personally, and as well as on various video interviews that they've done, which I love, and I wanted to repeat here, is a quote that they like to use within McAfee, and that is, Anaplan can. So no matter whatever their challenge is, they actually look to Anaplan to solve that challenge. And that's why they have, and they say, Anaplan can. So for me, my objective here at Anaplan is to hear many more examples, experiences, stories about how Anaplan can help each and every one of you, as well as additional customers that we'll have over the next several years. When I think about connected planning is really bringing 3 major elements together. That's data, people, and plans. Now, we all talk about data, big data, small data, kind of very complex data. The problem with data that I've experienced, and I know many of you have as well, is that we have a lot of it, but it's not necessarily the best data. And we struggle at many times trying to reconcile different sources of data, even as simple as resource data, headcount data. I know in my experience many years ago, we spent several times having 4 or 5 different versions of knowing how many employees we had working on a specific project. Simple things can be big challenges. But getting the best data means having a common source of truth, as I explained when I talked about the Cisco example, but also data that has the history, but enabling us to then predict, manage, model various scenarios and understand and appreciate how, in a dynamic business, things are going to change over time and being able to predict and manage the future. So that's the data. On the people side, you know, many of us have worked with spreadsheets. And especially in the finance organization, spreadsheets become a major element of what financial analysts use to do their analysis. The problem with that is it becomes very isolated to that individual that's actually working on that complex model. It doesn't, it has use for that individual, maybe for a few people around them, but think about how pervasive and how much more important that information could be if it was in a model that was shared by so many more people around the company, so that you can really get real-time reaction. You can get collaboration among a larger group of people, especially in large organizations, where they can get that information, be able to make decisions, and react quickly, especially in a very agile, very dynamic environment. So that's the people side. The third is plans. You know, one of the things when I look at plans, there's always financial plans, sales plans, human resources plans, right? I can go on and on and on. And the problem, again, is plans that are in silos. There's forecasting that's done in different silos, but very rare is it that those forecasts really kind of come together and aligned across an enterprise, across an organization. Connecting those plans is like really a central nervous system, I kind of call it, where if you had the ability to bring it all together and have that intelligence with the data and the people, you can, again, make much more effective decisions. So working with data and people and plans and bringing that all together enables a very successful connected planning environment. And that's what I love about where Anaplan, what the platform is that we have to offer today, and even more where it could be going as far as the potential in the future. And that is working with all of you, our customers, as well as our partners, to make it a reality. Now, I've been part of Anaplan for now only just 4 months, so it's been a short amount of time. And I've been around the world in that short time frame talking to many of our customers, many of our partners, many of our employees, really to listen and learn about what we have been able to work together on in the past, what we're working on today, as well as what we can work on in the future. And I've come to 3 major initiatives as the CEO to help drive as I think about the next 5 years. The first one, which kind of relates to all of you, our customers, because I've found in my past that those companies that really put their customers at the forefront of their strategy are ones that succeed, more so than others. And so one of our major initiatives that I am trying to drive across the company is what I call Customer First. And Customer First is really enabling all of our customers to connect with many of our Anaplanners around the world. And it's not just the sales team and the interaction that you may have with the sales team, but it's our customer success, it's our engineers, it's our operations people, so that they are all aligned to make sure that we meet the requirements that you all have on a day in and day out basis. I can't really say today, standing up here on this stage, that there are many software companies that you can actually say is a model of really being a customer-first organization. Now, there are many companies that have been customer-first, but not so many software companies. So I want to be one of those that really interacts very closely with each and every one of you to help solve your challenges and help enable you to be successful going forward and change how you work and change clearly how you plan and how you make decisions. So that's number one. Number two is innovation. It's very fortunate that we have Michael Gould, our founder, here today. Michael started this company many years ago in York, in the UK. Fantastic, fantastic platform. Number one thing I heard when I spoke to many of those customers that I traveled around the world, great, great product, great, great technology. And it's fantastic to be able to stand up here today and talk about that. But we want to, and if I talk about some of the other options that you have, working with some of the legacy competitors that we have, as well as even some of the smaller companies that are just starting out, we feel that we have an advantage to offer to you. We want to keep that advantage, and that means continuing to be innovative. And so my second initiative is to make sure that we are aggressively investing in that technology, and we actually are substantially adding to our engineering teams, both in Europe as well as in the US, so that we can anticipate some of those changes, focusing on security, focusing on an open platform to enable much more APIs about different applications that you can feed into Anaplan and pull from Anaplan. So investing in that innovation, number two. And the third objective is community. It's kind of why we're here today, getting many of us together that share like experiences, like challenges, but to talk about what we're doing and making sure that we can learn from each other. Customer to customer, customer to partner, customer partner to Anaplanners. And it goes back to the customer first, as I mentioned before. So building communities, the importance of benchmarking, enabling us to learn and experience from each other is extremely important. I looked at that as number 3. So again, standing up here, as far as Anaplan, it's an exciting experience that I've seen in the last 4 months. As I think about the next 4 or 5 years, I think it could be even more exciting for us as well as for you. And it's great to be on that journey. So I want to thank our customers, our partners, our Anaplanners around the world for what we've been able to achieve so far and look forward to where we're going in the future. Merci beaucoup. I get a chance, hopefully, for the rest of the morning to get a chance to see each and every one of you personally. And I wish you all the best as we continue to work together.
Thank you very much, Frank. We'd like to carry on our interaction with some executives from Anaplan, so I'm delighted to call on stage Michael Gould, the CTO and co-founder of Anaplan. I'd like to call Jean-Marc Sénéchal, who is Vice President of Customer Success for the Southern Europe, and Laurent Lefouet, who is Managing Director for Anaplan EMEA. Please take your seats. Thank you. Frank, we are using this new format this year where we replicate the hub that took place in various places around the world. And we had our massive event hub a few weeks back in San Francisco. Can you tell us a bit more about how it went and which takeaways we have in there?
So for me, it was fantastic, being my first hub, and as I mentioned, an opportunity to meet many different customers from around the world. So we did have hub in San Francisco. We had over 1,500 attendees, customers as well as partners, so it was fantastic to see that many people join us, a substantial increase from where we were last year. And it was over several days, so this is just a half a day, spending several days with customers and partners, talking about a lot of the experiences, having some user group sessions, learning about some of our products and the technology roadmap and things like that was extremely beneficial. But most for me, the takeaway, as I said before, was hearing about how Anaplan has been able to change the work experiences, the planning experiences, and that was fantastic. This coming year or next year, the event, the global event is going to be in Las Vegas, so we do invite all of you and others as part of your company to join us in Vegas. But again, as we know, not everyone can travel for that event, so we'd like to come around, especially in Europe, and have, like we're here today in Paris, have these Hub Comes to You events to be able to make it much more intimate and learn more about your specific situations.
Excellent, thank you, Frank. Laurent, did we have many EMEA attendees to this fantastic show?
Yes, indeed, and actually I was very proud and thankful for our customers actually who came with us to San Francisco. Means we had a delegation of 80 people from Europe, from all over the place, including France and Russia. Some customers were completely new to Anaplan, like Booking.com, and they came actually to meet with other customers with more experience as they were just about to embark on that journey and to start their project. And they had the opportunity then to meet with customers who shared actually with the others what they've done, like Louis Vuitton, and I can see Emmerich here, who actually shared their experience to the others. So, 200 sessions, 80 sessions were actually delivered by our customers during those 2 days and a half. It's a lot of content. I think that it's a learning expedition. It's not a marketing event. It's really all about learning. You can learn from all sort of line of businesses, HR, finance, supply chain, compensation. And I spent also a lot of time in those sessions. And what is difficult actually is to choose. And I'm looking forward all the videos to be posted online to actually watch and see the one that I missed. So no, that was a great event. I can only recommend that you to take the time. And we are working hard actually to make it worth this time.
And I would agree. I mean, like I said before, the biggest difference I've seen from an Anaplan user conference versus many other conferences I've been to over the years is that sense of community. It wasn't a marketing event. It was much more kind of a gathering and sharing of experiences, which goes a long way. So.
It looks like we are shaping the future of our customers. At least we try to do so. So Frank, you've been with us now 4 months, as you just said. What do you see the future of Anaplan being? How do you see the company being in 3 to 5 years from now?
Wow. It's, you know, one of the things that we have been doing some planning over the next 5 years based on the success that we've had, primarily driven by working with all of you. You know, last year we had an increase of 75% as far as the number of subscriptions that we've had. So it shows just the magnitude of what's really happening. And if you think about that going over several years, the magnitude of it is really going to enable us, as I said, with the investment in the technology to really bring what we have, the success today, and working with all of you to a whole nother level when we start thinking about future technologies like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and what that really brings to that larger organization. So I think between technology, between some of the support and experiences that we're working with, I think there's just endless possibilities.
Thank you. This is a very good segue, actually, to my next question to Michael. We see throughout the world bigger and bigger customers joining Anaplan community. We see customers putting more and more data, creating more and more complex models and so forth. To which extent this increase of usage of Anaplan brings a technological challenge to us?
So this has been a journey that we've been on for a number of years now. In the 6 years since we launched commercially in 2011, when I think back to when we started, we were dealing with customers who had tens of users on the platform. The models that we were dealing with were perhaps 100 million cells, and we were enormously proud about the performance. We were getting models with 100 million cells. That's equivalent of 100 really large spreadsheets in a single model calculating in sub-second response time. We were hugely proud of that. Over the last 6 years, we've multiplied that size by a factor of 100. So the models we now deal with are 100 times bigger, again, than they were 6 years ago. So on average, we're more than doubling every year in terms of the scale of the data we're dealing with. And the number of users going up from tens of users to thousands of users. And that is a journey that we're continuing. Frank mentioned the investment in innovation. This year, in 2017, we're actually doubling the number of engineers working on the platform. We're getting amazing talent coming in. We've started up a new team in London, building a team of 50 people this year who are focused entirely on the core, the calculation engine at the heart of Anaplan, on increasing the size of the workspace, performance, concurrency, how many users we can handle, looking at how we can more efficiently make use of the space to handle bigger and bigger models. And so I see a great road ahead. Very exciting to see that. We're also investing in infrastructure, upgrading everything from the hardware upwards, the back-end management platform for the system to handle the users. So yeah, huge investment and a great path ahead to continue to handle these bigger and bigger models and more users.
Good. So in this journey, and Frank referred to it during his presentation, we are talking more and more about community. This is a word which comes more and more common within Anaplan. Jean-Marc, can you elaborate a little bit on that and tell us a bit more about what community is about and what the meaning is?
Connected planning means connecting processes, application, models, and data. But it also means connecting people, networking with Anaplanners around the world to share project experiences, best practices. That's why we have launched a few months ago the Anaplan community. It's a central and unique location where you can search for, comment on, and add specific content, ask questions and provide answers for sure. It's a very great location where you can find some best practices, online e-learning, product feature help, and a lot of very valuable content. For now, it's a very impressive start because we have registered more than 17,000 visits per month. We have roughly 2,800 active users and more than 1,000 articles. So it's a great location to start with if you want to connect with Anaplanners around the world.
Thank you. Laurent, you are covering a very wide territory with diversity of languages, cultures, and so I guess the customers that we have in EMEA may differ from a certain extent to the one we may see in Asia or in the US. Any particular example or thing that outstanding that you have seen around this large territory over this past year?
Yes, well, indeed, it's a very diverse region, but all the global customers are facing the same challenges and are looking for agility and speed. This is what they have in common. But what is interesting is to see there are very unusual use cases that we are facing sometimes. I can give you a couple of examples. We recently actually contracted with United Nations. The initial situation they were facing is the migrants issue of the flow of migrants coming to Europe. Just like many companies, they had actually to forecast for those number of people going to the different countries, and they had actually then to see how many people they will have to accommodate with camps in this region. So that was the initial idea, and actually it expanded for all crisis management when they had to scramble actually to address around the world those type of issues. So this is something we started just 3 months ago. And it's probably going to develop. And now we are in talk with the Red Cross. So for similar situations, they are actually the building in front of them in Geneva. So it's what is happening in the world, and the disruptions is also, of course, impacting a lot of the people. On another different aspect, it's this joint venture that British Airways and American Airlines have as part of the alliance, where actually means one company selling pricing and selling corporate rates for the other company. So they have actually to exchange information in a controlled fashion so that their sales representative can actually price on behalf. So British Airways selling American Airlines, and American Airlines selling British Airways flights to corporates. We are also talking about airlines. We are dealing also with airports. So we started with Gatwick. Now we have Luton Airport, and there will be many. So it's all about capacity. You know, Gatwick Airport, it's 40 million passengers a year. They are growing 5%. That means 2 million people more every year. That means 6,000 every day in average. And of course, it's never the average. It's going up and down. 6,000 people every day, it means 5 kilometers of queue. And you have actually then to provide with the capacity in terms of the check-in counters, the security lines, everything in the airport to bring the people to the plane timely. Yeah? And initially, it took them 3 days to be able to replan based on the passenger forecast that they get from the number of flights, the type of aircrafts, the information they get from the companies in terms of the bookings. Now they can do it in half a day. Yeah. So we are learning a lot from our customers, and the connected planning message actually is something that we learn from the experience we had for the past 5 years on how you are using Anaplan. We have different use cases where we connect the people, and now actually you are connecting those use cases all together, and this is what we call the connected planning. Yeah.
Michael, as you know, we are facing more and more requests from large customers within EMEA about localizing the data within Europe, making sure for data privacy obvious take that the data centers remain within EU and in some cases within their own borders. Do we have any plans to expand our infrastructure within Europe?
Yes, so I mean, I think one thing, just kind of expanding on that, we are very conscious of the sensitivity of the data that is put into Anaplan. We're dealing with large public companies who are putting forward-looking financial data, financial forecasts into the platform. We're dealing with companies who are dealing with HR data, so personnel data, salary information, and we're dealing with organizations that are highly regulated, whether it's in banks, in financial services, or in healthcare or pharmaceuticals. So we are very, very conscious of the importance of security and privacy. We're investing a lot in that, so both on the security side, functionality like bring your own key encryption. So this is allowing our customers to manage the encryption keys themselves. The security team for a customer can own the encryption keys for the data that's stored within the Anaplan data center. So features like that. And then yes, as you say, the location of data, it's a key requirement. We have a data center in the European Union, in Amsterdam, with a backup to AWS in Dublin. We were planning to have a second data center in London. Obviously, circumstances change, and so probably more likely we'll be in Frankfurt for our secondary European data center. But in general, it's fair to say that we recognize the need, we understand. And circumstances change. Regulations change. They tighten up. If anything, I see a trend towards more requirement for data to be hosted within individual countries, and so we're gearing up to be able to support that, whether it's through a hosting partner to provide the services, or with data centers that we run and manage ourselves. That's our plan, is to be able to support our customers with the data wherever it needs to be.
Jean-Marc, when it comes to delivering the value to our customers and making sure that they get all the benefit that they expect from Anaplan, we always refer to the Anaplan way. Can you just elaborate a little bit on what it is?
The Anaplan way is a project methodology. It's our implementation methodology, which secures a project by a strong deployment and adoption of the Anaplan platform. It's a proven methodology. It's based on Agile. It means it's fast, interactive, and collaborative. One key element of our approach is to enable the end users during the project lifecycle, of course, to secure the adoption. So we have a strong focus on the change management. During the different phases of the project, we focus on 4 implementation cornerstones: the process, the data, the model, and the deployment. In terms of process, the very first one is understanding the business process, the milestone, expected outcomes. Second one, the data. What are the data available or needed to fulfill the business requirement? The model itself, which is being sure we apply the best practices to have the best model in terms of efficiency and able to evolve easily. And last but not least, the deployment, which is a focus on the change part, being sure the end users will fully adopt the solution. So for now, the Anaplan way has helped 500 customers around the world to succeed with Anaplan by enabling them to produce their own applications.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. Actually, I do have a final question, because it's almost time to close this panel, and it's a bit of a provocative question to you, Frank. We are growing at a very, very fast pace, and as we all know, a fast growth requires significant investment. Is there any major equity event to be foreseen in the next future?
So the key thing for us, especially as I mentioned before about planning for the next 5 years, is how best we can scale the company. I mentioned some examples. Michael talked about some of the things that we're doing technology-wise, innovation, some of the support. That's what we're mostly focused on. Of course, going and becoming a public company, or actually going through an IPO, is one of the milestones that we're considering. We haven't identified the timing of that yet, but it's something that we have out there. But as I mentioned this to many Anaplanners around the world as I get this question, an IPO is just one of those milestones. There's many other milestones, most of which is to make sure that we continue to provide the support and some of the needs that you have as the customers that we have today, and some of the needs you have in the future. So thinking over the next several years and making sure that we have the funding to make those investments is going to be top of mind for myself, as well as our new CFO, when we get a new CFO.
Thank you, Frank. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us on this stage and giving some insight of what happened with Anaplan this past year, and what our future looks like.